The fall of Nova Prima. The quantum sensors detected the anomaly 16 minutes before Nova Prima fell. Dr. Elena Santos watched the readings with growing concern from her position in the colony's main research center. The distortion in space-time grew larger with each passing second, far too organized to be natural. As head of Cinephysics research for humanity's most advanced extrasolar colony, she knew what it meant. Someone was coming. Director Chen, we have multiple hyperspace signatures approaching Nova Prima, she reported, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Energy output suggests vessels far larger than anything in our database. Marcus Chen, colonial director of Nova Prima, stood from his desk overlooking the sprawling metropolis that housed over 3 million colonists. The city's gleaming spires and crystal gardens represented the pinnacle of human achievement beyond Earth. Alert status, he commanded. Raise civilian shields and notify Earth Command. But Earth was 20 light-years away. Even with quantum entanglement communications, help would take hours to arrive. Nova Prima's defensive capabilities were substantial. For a civilian colony, the question was whether they would be enough. The first ships emerged from hyperspace like leviathans breaking the ocean's surface. Their hulls were organic, almost alive, covered in patterns that seemed to shift and flow. Dozens of vessels, each larger than the colony's central tower, surrounded Nova Prima in a perfect geometric formation. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. Unknown language, but the universal translator is processing. The alien message echoed through the command center, translated in real time. This is High Commander Zexkar of the Karjan Empire. Your species has expanded beyond acceptable boundaries. Submit to immediate evacuation and colony dissolution, or face eradication. You have 10 minutes to comply. Director Chen's jaw tightened. Open a channel. This is Director Marcus Chen of Nova Prima. We are a peaceful research colony operating under Earth jurisdiction. We claim no territory beyond our immediate solar system and pose no threat to any spacefaring civilization. We welcome diplomatic dialogue. 8 minutes, the alien commander interrupted. Your species' potential for advancement has been deemed excessive. The Karjan Empire maintains galactic order through controlled development of primitive races. You have expanded too far. Too fast. 7 minutes. Dr. Santos studied the sensor readings with growing horror. The energy signatures from the alien vessels were unlike anything she'd seen, and she'd spent her career studying theoretical weapons technology. Director, they're weapons systems. They're powering up something that's warping local space-time. If they fire. Evacuation order, Chen commanded. All civilians to emergency shelters. Contact Earth Command. Authorization code. Broken arrow. The next 6 minutes were chaos. Evacuation sirens wailed across the city as 3 million people rushed for the underground bunkers. The colony's defensive shields hummed to life, and automated defense platforms emerged from hidden silos. Nova Prima's last line of defense. 1 minute, the alien voice announced. Your defensive preparations are noted and irrelevant. Final opportunity for surrender. Director Chen stood tall, his voice unwavering. We will not surrender our home to threats and intimidation. Earth will. The first shot didn't come from the largest ships. A smaller vessel, almost an afterthought in the alien formation, fired a single pulse of energy. Where it struck the colony's shields, space itself seemed to crack. The barrier that could withstand meteor impacts shattered like glass. Maximum power to secondary shields. Chen ordered. Begin emergency. The second shot ended any hope of organized resistance. A beam of twisted space-time cut through Nova Prima's central tower like a scythe through wheat. The structure, home to over 50,000 people, didn't explode. It imploded, collapsing in on itself as fundamental forces of the universe were warped beyond recognition. In her lab, Dr. Santos worked frantically, quantum computers recording every second of the attack. Transmitting data burst to Earth Command, she reported. Adding personal notes. Their technology manipulates space-time at a fundamental level. Standard defense is useless, but the power requirements must be. The third shot struck her lab directly. Elena Santos, one of humanity's brightest minds in xenophysics, had just enough time to hit send before she and her research were reduced to their component atoms. The destruction of Nova Prima took exactly 7 minutes and 13 seconds. When it was done, where a thriving metropolis of 3 million souls had stood, there was only a crater of twisted space-time, impossible geometries frozen in the ruins of humanity's greatest extrasolar achievement. High Commander Zexcard observed the destruction with clinical detachment. Message sent. He noted to his subordinates, "The primitives will understand now. Their other colonies will surrender when." "High Commander," his sensor officer interrupted, voice tight with sudden concern. "That transmission they sent, the quantum signature, it wasn't just a distress call." "Explain." "The data pattern. It was a key. It activated something. Something is awakening across human space. On Earth, 20 light-years away, in a facility deeper than the Mariana Trench, a quantum eye received Dr. Santos's final transmission. Complex algorithms that had lain dormant for decades began to execute. In hidden bases across a dozen star systems, massive doors began to open. The Karjans had intended to send a message. They succeeded, but they had badly misunderstood their audience. They thought they were culling an upstart species that had grown too quickly. Instead, they had just awakened humanity's true potential, and with it, a response that would reshape the galaxy. Nova Prima had fallen, but in its death throes, it had sparked something its destroyers could never have predicted. Humanity had always known this day might come. They had prepared. They had planned. They had built. And now, they would reveal exactly what happened when you pushed a species that had spent its entire history preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. The war for survival had begun, but it wouldn't end the way the Karjan Empire expected. Not by a long shot. The silent vanguard. Admiral Sarah Chen stared at the holographic display showing Nova Prima's final moments. The images, reconstructed from her cousin, Marcus's last transmission, played on endless loop in the strategic command bunker beneath Mount Olympus on Mars. 3 million lives, extinguished in minutes. But unlike the Karjans, she knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. "Execute protocol." "Prometheus," she commanded, her voice echoing through the chamber. Around her, dozens of officers touched their neural implants, acknowledging the order that would reveal humanity's greatest secret. For 100 years, Earth had presented itself as a peaceful, purely scientific civilization. Every colony, every outpost, every research station had been built with defensive capabilities only. But beneath that careful facade lay the truth. Humanity had never stopped preparing for war. Deep within Europa's ice sheets, massive hangars began to thaw. On Mercury's dark side, solar-powered fabrication plants that had been disguised as research stations revealed their true purpose. Throughout the asteroid belt, seemingly abandoned mining installations transformed into fully armed battle stations. "Status report," Sarah demanded, watching as green lights flickered across the strategic display. "Lazarus Fleet reporting ready, Admiral," her XO, Commander James Rodriguez, answered. 700,000 vessels, fully crewed and armed. The quantum AI network is online and synchronized. 700,000 ships. While the public saw humanity building research vessels and cargo haulers, the truth was far different. Every civilian ship contained a military core, waiting to be activated. Every colony had hidden shipyards. Every human adult had received military training disguised as emergency preparedness courses. "The Karjans expect us to be broken," Sarah addressed her staff. "They expect fear, panic, maybe a few desperate acts of resistance. What they don't know is that we've been waiting for this moment since we first looked to the stars." The holographic display shifted, showing the true extent of human military power. The Lazarus Fleet wasn't just massive. It was revolutionary. ships powered by controlled quantum singularities, weapons that could match and counter the Karjan's space-time manipulation technology, defense systems that operated on principles even their own scientists were still trying to fully understand. Shadow Protocol is active, Rodriguez reported. All civilian populations are being relocated to hardened shelters. Manufacturing centers are switching to full military production. The Quantum Intelligence Network reports optimal battle coordination capability. Sarah nodded, remembering her cousin's final message. Marcus had known what his death would trigger. Every human leader carried that burden, knowing that their sacrifice would unleash a response beyond their enemy's darkest nightmares. Begin Phase 1, she ordered. Deploy the Phantom Divisions first. Let's show them what humanity can really do. Across human space, ships began to emerge from their hiding places. But these weren't the crude vessels the Karjans would expect from a primitive species. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, designed with a single purpose: to protect humanity at any cost. The Phantom Divisions were humanity's stealth fleet, ships equipped with quantum cloaking technology that made them virtually invisible to conventional sensors. They had already surrounded the Karjan fleet at Nova Prima before the aliens even realized they were there. All Phantom Division vessels in position, Rodriguez confirmed. Waiting for your order, Admiral. Sarah took a deep breath, thinking of the millions lost at Nova Prima. The Karjans thought they were teaching humanity a lesson about galactic order. They were about to learn one themselves. Send the message, she commanded. Let them see exactly what they've awakened. Throughout the Karjan fleet, sensors suddenly blazed with warnings. Where empty space had existed moments before, thousands of human warships now revealed themselves. Their designs were alien to Karjan tactical computers, smooth predatory shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Her message broadcast on all frequencies, translated perfectly into the Karjan language. You believed you found a primitive species in need of culling. Instead, you've awakened a giant that has spent centuries preparing for this exact moment. Your empire is about to learn why humanity's apparent peace was always a choice, not a weakness. High Commander Zexkar watched in disbelief as his sensors showed more and more human ships appearing from nowhere. Their energy signatures were impossible, suggesting technology that should be beyond any developing civilization's capability. Impossible, he muttered. Their colonies, their ships, everything we observed was exactly what we wanted you to see. Sarah's voice responded, and Zexkar realized with growing horror that the humans had already compromised his fleet's communications. While you watched our civilian ships and counted our research stations, you never thought to look deeper, to ask why a peaceful species maintained such extensive underground facilities, why our civilian vessels had power cores far larger than they needed. The human ships moved with impossible precision, taking up positions that negated every Karjan tactical advantage. Their formation wasn't just superior, it was perfect, coordinated by artificial intelligences that could process battlefield data faster than organic minds could comprehend. You destroyed Nova Prima to send a message, Sarah continued, her voice cold. Now we're going to send one of our own. But first, we're going to demonstrate exactly why attacking humanity was the greatest mistake your empire has ever made. The first shot wasn't fired by the human ships. Instead, quantum fluctuations began to appear throughout the Karjan fleet. Their own space-time weapons suddenly refused to function, caught in fields of controlled probability manipulated by human quantum technology. Your empire enforces order through fear, Sarah declared. We're about to show you what real power looks like. The power of a species that chose peace while never forgetting how to wage war. The power of humanity unleashed. The silent vanguard had revealed itself, and as the first coordinated attacks began, the Karjan Empire was about to learn that they hadn't found a primitive civilization to subjugate. They had awakened humanity's full potential, and with it, a response that would reshape the galaxy forever. Operation Starfall. The void between stars erupted with light as humanity launched its first major counteroffensive against the Karjan Empire. Operation Starfall wasn't just a military campaign. It was the culmination of centuries of preparation, a precisely choreographed dance of ships and weapons that would demonstrate humanity's true capabilities. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from her flagship, the EDS Prometheus, as the quantum AI network coordinated the movements of thousands of vessels with perfect precision. The Karjan fleet that had destroyed Nova Prima found itself caught in a web of overlapping fields of fire, each escape route blocked before they even attempted to use it. "Target their command and control systems," she ordered. "Minimal casualties, maximum impact. Show them what we can do." The human fleet moved like a single organism, each ship knowing its exact role in the greater strategy. Quantum-linked weapons fired in perfect synchronization, their effects multiplied by carefully calculated interference patterns. Where Karjan ships attempted to use their space-time weapons, they found their own technology turned against them by human countermeasures. High Commander Zexkar watched in growing horror as his supposedly superior fleet was systematically dismantled. The humans weren't just winning. They were doing so with a level of coordination and technological sophistication that should have been impossible for any civilization they had encountered. "Their ships," his tactical officer reported, voice trembling. "They're not just communicating. They're thinking as one. Every time we adapt our tactics, they've already countered them before we execute." The quantum AI network that guided the human fleet processed combat data faster than organic minds could comprehend. It predicted Karjan responses based on detailed analysis of their military doctrine, positioning ships to counter tactics before they were even attempted. But the true revelation came when the humans deployed their specialist vessels, ships equipped with technology that the Karjans had thought theoretically impossible began to appear throughout the battlefield. Vessels that could manipulate probability itself, causing enemy weapons to malfunction or miss their targets. Ships that could create localized time dilation fields, trapping Karjan vessels in moments of slowed time, while human attackers struck with impunity. "Send the surrender signal," Zexkar ordered as another squadron of his ships was disabled by weapons he couldn't even understand. But before his communications officer could comply, a new voice echoed through his command center. "I'm afraid we're not quite ready for your surrender, Commander." Admiral Chen's voice was calm, almost conversational. "First, you need to understand exactly what you're surrendering to." The space around the Karjan fleet suddenly lit up with holographic displays, showing not just the local battle but conflicts erupting throughout Karjan space. Human stealth fleets had already penetrated deep into Imperial territory, positioning themselves near key military installations and population centers. "While you focused on Nova Prima," Sarah continued, "our real fleet was already moving into position. Every major system in your empire is currently surrounded by ships like the ones you're facing now. But we're not going to destroy your civilization like you tried to destroy Nova Prima. We're going to show you a better way." The human ships began a new phase of their attack, but instead of destroying Karjan vessels, they systematically disabled them. Weapon systems were precisely targeted and neutralized. Engines were shut down by focused quantum fields. Communications were selectively jammed, isolating command ships from their squadrons. "Your empire is built on the belief that advanced civilizations must control the development of younger ones," Sarah explained as her fleet continued its work. "We're about to prove that true advancement comes not from control, but from cooperation." Throughout Karjan space, human ships began broadcasting on all frequencies, but they weren't transmitting threats or demands for surrender. Instead, they shared information, historical records showing how humanity had developed, how they had overcome their violent past, not by suppressing it, but by channeling it into preparation and defense. "We could destroy your fleet right now," Sarah told Zexkar. "We could destroy every military installation in your empire. But that's not why we built this fleet. We built it so we would never have to use it destructively." The quantum AI network had already calculated every possible outcome of the battle. It knew exactly how the Karjans would react to each demonstration of human technology. The entire operation was designed not just to defeat the Karjan military, but to reshape their understanding of what civilization could be. As Operation Starfall continued, the true extent of human preparation became clear. They hadn't just built ships and weapons. They had created a completely new paradigm of warfare, one where victory came not from destruction, but from the precise application of overwhelming technological superiority. "Your empire has stood for 1,000 years," Sarah addressed the Karjan commander. "In less than a day, we've shown you that everything you believed about military power and technological advancement was wrong. Now we're going to show you something even more important: how to build a future that doesn't require empire to maintain peace." The stars themselves seemed to bear witness as humanity demonstrated its mastery not just of technology, but of strategy and foresight. Operation Starfall wasn't just changing the outcome of a battle, it was changing the very nature of how civilizations would interact in the galaxy. And as the Karjan fleet hung powerless in space, their weapons neutralized, and their communications controlled by human quantum systems, they began to understand. They hadn't found a primitive species to subjugate. They had instead discovered a civilization that had spent centuries preparing not just for war, but for the peace that would follow it. The heart of the storm. Deep within Karjan space, aboard the EDS Prometheus, Admiral Sarah Chen prepared for the most crucial phase of humanity's response. The initial victory had been decisive, but military superiority alone wouldn't prevent future conflicts. For that, humanity needed to strike at something far more fundamental, the very ideology that drove the Karjan Empire. "Begin Phase 4, she commanded. "Activate the Enlightenment Protocol." Across thousands of Karjan worlds, quantum-encrypted broadcasts began breaking through Imperial censorship networks. But these weren't military transmissions or propaganda. Instead, they carried something far more powerful: the truth about both humanity and the Empire itself. "Your leaders told you we were primitives who expanded too quickly." Sarah's voice echoed across Karjan communication channels. "The truth is more complex. We are a species that chose peace while never forgetting war. Every scientific advancement we shared openly was matched by military technology we kept hidden. Not out of fear, but out of hope that we'd never need to use it." The broadcasts included detailed scans of Nova Prima's ruins, showing not just the destruction, but the millions of lives that had been thriving there. Scientific research, artistic achievements, cultural exchanges, all erased in minutes because of an imperial doctrine that feared rapid advancement. Commander Rodriguez approached Sarah's command station with a holographic display of real-time data. "The quantum network is detecting significant social upheaval across Karjan space. Their population, they're beginning to question centuries of imperial doctrine." This had always been the true purpose of Operation Starfall. The military victory was just the foundation for something far more important: a fundamental transformation of how the Karjans viewed themselves and their role in the galaxy. Deep in Karjan territory, aboard his flagship now under human control, High Commander Zexkar watched with a mixture of horror and fascination as his empire's carefully maintained social order began to unravel. The humans weren't just defeating their military. They were dismantling the very foundations of Karjan society. "How long?" he asked quietly. "How long have your people been preparing for this?" "Since we first looked to the stars," Sarah replied, her holographic form appearing in his chamber. "We saw two possible futures, one where we encountered peaceful civilizations and could grow together, and one where we'd face empires that feared our potential. We prepared for both." The quantum AI network that coordinated human military operations was now processing cultural and social data from across the empire. It identified populations most likely to embrace change, power structures ready to collapse, and the precise pressure points that would transform the Karjan Empire from within. "Your empire's fundamental mistake," Sarah continued, "wasn't attacking us. It was believing that advancement must be controlled, that younger civilizations must be suppressed for the galaxy's stability. We're going to show you a different way. Throughout Karjan space, human ships began a new kind of deployment. Instead of military targets, they positioned themselves near cultural centers, educational institutions, and public gathering places. The quantum network synchronized their actions not for combat, but for something far more powerful: understanding. Look at your own history. The broadcasts continued, now showing detailed analyses of Karjan civilization's development. Before the Empire, your people were known for their innovation, their creativity, their desire to explore and understand. The doctrine of controlled development wasn't protection. It was chains on your own potential. On thousands of Karjan worlds, populations that had lived under strict imperial control for generations began to see their civilization from a new perspective. The humans weren't just sharing military technology or scientific knowledge. They were offering a vision of what the Karjan people could become. "We could destroy your military," Sarah addressed the Empire's population directly. "We could dismantle your power structures by force. Instead, we're offering you a choice. Look at what your Empire feared in us. Not our weapons or our ships, but our ability to advance while maintaining our humanity." The heart of the storm wasn't a military operation. It was a cultural revolution guided by quantum computers that could process the complexities of social change at speeds no organic mind could match. The human fleet became not just a military force, but a catalyst for transformation. Zexkar watched as reports flooded in from across the Empire. Civilian populations were rejecting imperial authority not through violence, but through a simple refusal to continue supporting a system built on fear. Military units stood down, choosing to protect their own people rather than enforce imperial doctrine. "Your Empire's greatest weapon was always fear," Sarah told him. "Fear of advancement, fear of change, fear of potential. We're not here to destroy your civilization, High Commander. We're here to help your people remember who they were before that fear defined them." The quantum network predicted it would take approximately 30 days for the complete transformation of Karjan society. It had calculated every possible response, every potential resistance, every opportunity for peaceful change. The humans hadn't just prepared for war, they had prepared for the peace that would follow. As the heart of the storm operation continued, the galaxy witnessed something unprecedented. A civilization that had prepared for war for centuries was using its power not to destroy or dominate, but to guide another species back to its own forgotten potential. The storm wasn't one of destruction, but of transformation, and at its heart was a truth the Karjan Empire had forgotten. True power lies not in controlling others, but in helping them grow. Dawn of a new era. 100 days after the fall of Nova Prima, representatives from Earth and the former Karjan Empire gathered in the newly constructed Galactic Concordat station orbiting Mars. The massive structure, built using a combination of human quantum technology and Karjan bioengineering, symbolized the unprecedented transformation that had reshaped known space. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the assembled delegates, her uniform bearing both Earth Defense Force insignia and the new symbol of the Concordat. Beside her stood former High Commander Zexkar, now the lead representative of the Karjan Liberation Council. "A century ago," Sarah began, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber, "humanity looked to the stars and saw two possibilities, a future of cooperation or one of conflict. We prepared for both, building not just ships and weapons, but a vision of what civilization could become." The quantum AI network that had coordinated the human military response now managed something far more complex: the integration of two vastly different civilizations. Its calculations had predicted this moment, but even it couldn't fully grasp the emotional significance of what was unfolding. "The attack on Nova Prima," Sarah continued, "was meant to demonstrate the power of empire. Instead, it revealed something far greater: the strength that comes from choosing peace while never forgetting how to defend it." Throughout former Karjan space, the transformation was nothing short of revolutionary. Worlds that had lived under strict imperial control for generations were rediscovering their cultural heritage. The Empire's doctrine of controlled development had been replaced by a new philosophy, guided growth through cooperation. Zexkar stepped forward, his crystalline form reflecting the light differently now, altered by the profound changes in his understanding. For 1,000 years, we believed that advanced civilizations had a duty to control the development of younger ones. We saw humanity's rapid advancement as a threat to galactic stability. We were wrong. The holographic displays around the chamber showed images from across known space. Human quantum technology merged seamlessly with Karjan bioengineering, creating innovations that neither civilization could have achieved alone. Former imperial worlds buzzed with newfound energy as populations embraced the freedom to innovate and explore. The humans didn't just defeat our military, Zexkar continued. They showed us what we had lost: the drive to explore, to create, to grow. Their preparation for war wasn't about destruction. It was about preserving the potential for peace. The Galactic Concordat wasn't just a peace treaty or an alliance. It was a new model for civilization, one that recognized the fundamental truth that humanity had understood all along. True strength comes not from controlling power, but from knowing how to use it wisely. Commander Rodriguez approached with the final status reports. The quantum network confirmed what everyone could already see. The transformation was complete and self-sustaining. The former empire had found a new purpose, not as controllers of development, but as partners in exploration. Today, Sarah addressed the chamber. We sign more than an agreement between former adversaries. We establish a new principle for galactic civilization. The Concordat recognizes that every species has the right to develop at its own pace, to explore its own potential, and to contribute to the greater whole in its own way. The framework they created was revolutionary. The massive human fleet that had demonstrated such overwhelming power now served as a peacekeeping force, jointly commanded by officers from both civilizations. The quantum AI network that had coordinated military operations now managed scientific exchanges and cultural preservation efforts. But perhaps most importantly, Sarah continued, we establish a new understanding of what it means to be an advanced civilization. True advancement isn't measured by military might or technological superiority. It's measured by the wisdom to know when to use power and when to share it. From the ruins of Nova Prima, something unprecedented had emerged. The human capacity for preparation and foresight, combined with the Karjan ability to coordinate across vast distances, created a framework for civilization that would reshape the galaxy. The stars themselves bear witness, Sarah concluded, to this dawn of a new era. An era where the question is not whether to prepare for war or peace, but how to use our preparation to ensure that peace remains the stronger choice. As the Concordat Charter was signed, quantum signals carried the news to every world in known space. Humanity had revealed not just its hidden strength, but its true purpose: to help build a galaxy where civilization meant more than conquest, where advancement meant more than control. The destruction of Nova Prima had been meant to send a message about the power of empire. Instead, it had revealed something far more powerful: the ability of civilization to transform itself. The sleeping giant had awakened not to destroy, but to build. And in doing so, it had changed not just the galaxy, but the very meaning of power itself. In the end, humanity's greatest weapon hadn't been its hidden fleets or advanced technology. It had been the wisdom to understand that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to use power to protect, to build, and to grow. The dawn of this new era marked not just the end of empire, but the beginning of something far greater, a future where the stars themselves would witness the endless potential of civilizations working together.